And then I just wanted to go over a quick thing in case you're new to Zoom. If you hover your mouse kind of near the bottom of your screen, you'll see your mute and unmute button. Right now you're all permanently muted, but so that we can limit background noise. You can show your videos being shown now if you chose to do that, but you can also stop your video if you would like, just by pressing that stop video button. Looks like a movie camera. And then there's a chat function. So if you click on the chat function, you can, if you want to shout out a hello to everyone, let us know where you're tuning in from, any of that, you can feel free to chat out to us. All right. And then you can, let me know if you have any questions. You can always message me, Katie. But we are going to get started. So I'm going to kick it off to Casey Hansen, Chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon. Casey.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Katie, and thanks for everybody for being on tonight. First, I've got a little bit of breaking news I need to let you all know about, and that's kind of why I was distracted and not on as soon as I usually am. Just a short time ago, our Democratic Party of Oregon office in Portland was again attacked by vandals. This is about the 5th time in a little over a year. And quite frankly, individuals who resort to this kind of destruction and worse do nothing to advance whatever cause they may be intending to promote. They're just making life miserable in the neighborhood. Happily, no staff was working from the office today. The situation's getting taken care of. All are safe, and most are Zooming with us tonight. We sincerely hope that as the Trump administration fades into history, so too will most of these senseless acts that hurt our neighbors. That said, today is about celebration. So to get started, I wanted to give a shout out to some of our Democratic leader folks who are with us tonight. Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Jeff Merkley, Congressman Peter DeFazio may be joining us tonight. He will try. Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, Governor Kate Brown, Treasurer Tobias Reed, Secretary of State, newly elected and now in office, Shemia Fagan, Senate Majority Leader Rob Wagner, Oregon's newly elected State Senator Deb Patterson, Representative Tana Sanchez, Representative Sherry Scouten, Metro Councilor Christine Lewis, former Secretary of State Bill Bradbury, former Secretary of State and DPO Chair, my predecessor, Gene Atkins, former Senate Majority Leader Diane Rosenbaum, former State Rep Phil Barnhart, former State Rep Alyssa Kenny Geyer, former Benton County Commissioner Annabelle Jaramillo, and another one of my predecessors, former DPO Chair Frank Dixon. Now, please chat out if you're a local election official, a board member, or if I just plain missed you because we got a lot of people on the call. Hi, everybody. And I want to sincerely thank our major sponsors who have helped us put on great events throughout the year, throughout the election cycle, and helped us get out the vote and helped us win in November. Thank you to our platinum sponsors, including Senator Ron Wyden and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW 48, who truly keep the Democratic light shining brightly in Oregon. Our Pacific Northwest Carpenters, who literally gave us a home on election night. Thanks also, of course, to the great folks of United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW 555. They are the essential advocates for our essential workers. And I'm honored to thank our own DPO staff union sponsor and my union in my other life, the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, IUPAT. And to our nurses, the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Health Professionals. You are just heroes to us in so many, many ways. Heading up our gold and silver sponsor list, our Senator Jeff Merkley and Governor Kate Brown. And as you see, there's a large contingent of elected Democratic officials, unions, and community organizations. And I'd also like to recognize, of course, our Democratic Party of Oregon officers. They are our hardworking, democratically obsessive, sleep at weird hours or not at all party leaders who give us an extraordinary amount of volunteer time fighting for the party, our ideals, and our candidates. Vice Chairs Michelle Risher and Pete Lee, Secretary Eileen Kiley, Treasurer and Gresham City Councilor Eddie Morales, and of course our DNC members, Travis Nelson, Eugene Councilor Matt Keating, and Michelle Risher, our newly elected DNC member who is doing double duty for a short time. And a big thank you, and I do not know how you do it and do it so well, to our DPO staff who work hard year-round, respond to emails at freakish hours, and have had their own images burned into their computer screens from all of their video conferences. They are the unsung heroes who make democratic magic with duct tape, baling wire, and a hell of a lot of technical know-how. And a round of applause, virtual applause, for our tremendously successful 2020 coordinated campaign team led by Ashleen Coughlin. We had lots of wins because of Ashleen's leadership and every one of her teammates' amazing work. And I'd like to thank all of you, our donors and volunteers. Your dedication to the Democratic Party of Oregon gave us not only easy wins for the Biden-Harris campaign and Jeff Merkley campaign, but you brought us hard wins in the hard campaigns for SOS and in Congressional District 4. Thank you to our President's Council members. You give us the major investments to make sure we have the building blocks for our organizing and outreach programs. Thanks to our Capitol Circle folks who stretch it to make sure our Democrats are armed with the tools to win. And of course, thanks to our grassroots donors, our hundreds and hundreds of grassroots members who give each and every month so we can build the strongest possible outreach campaigns. Thank you all. You have given and continue to give us the base of support we need to build our campaigns early and win and keep this thing going. And of course, if you'd like to give at any point tonight, please visit dpo.org/give. Hey, I'd had to get a commercial in there, right? So all of you have been just so key in helping our Democratic team through this difficult COVID time. You volunteered, you recruited volunteers, you sent us the needed financial support, and you gave Oregon huge wins. You protected Democratic incumbents and bumped 2 GOP incumbents out of the Oregon legislature. The major investments you made created the framework that allowed us to mobilize Democrats throughout the state, especially as we work to COVID election 2020. And I'm so proud of the thousands of Oregon Democrats that contribute tens of thousands of hours and volunteer time. And I'm so proud that over 7,500 DPO donors made sure we had the resources to run our GOTV programs. And you know what? Even after November 3rd, you aren't done. You even chipped in mightily and helped out with a great Georgia effort, sending both dollars and virtual volunteers to the formerly red state. Thank you, all of you. And finally, I do want to give a shout out to all our Democratic candidates and their teams tonight, including and especially those folks that did not get the W. Y'all still made a difference in so many ways. Every conversation you had matters. Every vote that you brought in matters. While we always move from election to election and drive hard to grab or maintain majorities, the candidacies of our Democrats in those pink and red areas help bend that arc of history to justice more than we know. You make the difference in doing that for the future, and we need you and we thank you. So now we have some great guests tonight. And first, I'd like to welcome our amazing Oregon State Treasurer, Tobias Read, who has long advocated for the economic viability of Oregonians. From one end of the age spectrum to the other, Treasurer Read relentlessly works on the policies that will keep our retirees financially secure. And he is also the #1 advocate for the Oregon College Savings Plan, which he helped develop. This offers the financial framework by which all Oregon kids can get to college. So Treasurer Read, the Zoom mic is now yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, fellow Democrats. Even in the midst of winter here, doesn't it feel just a little bit brighter and a little bit warmer tonight? And how great is it, by the way, to finally be able to drop that pesky word elect and be able to say President Biden and Vice President Harris. Like many of you, I've been dealing with the practicalities of the pandemic. Around here, it means a neighborhood pod. We've figured out how to bring together safely a few sixth graders and second graders in a big garage with open doors and open windows and masks and everything. The parents from our neighborhood have all agreed to take on a couple of hours each weekday afternoon to try to be academically productive. And for some reason, I've been asked to take on personal finance and civics. I know what you're thinking. why isn't the treasurer covering chemistry as well, right? Well, this week is my week on Friday afternoon, and I've been thinking about how I can offer something useful about the inauguration. And it gave me this distinct memory of today, 28 years ago. I can hardly believe it was that long ago. I was there in person. I was a 17-year-old high school senior, and I was there to watch the inauguration of President Clinton. I can remember it was cold. I remember standing there a really long time. But more than that, what I remember particularly is this feeling of possibility. And it's the same feeling I felt today. Different circumstances, a different set of challenges for sure. But as I listened to the president and vice president take their oaths and assume office, I felt both reassured and energized. Finally, we have some competent adults at the helm. Finally, we have a team that's bringing the seriousness we so desperately need. Finally, we've got a team that's acknowledging our responsibilities to each other, to the world, and to the future. And finally, we've got a team of talent that's going to embrace the opportunities that are in front of us. So as I thought about this lesson plan for Friday, I decided I'd go back and listen to some of the inaugural speeches of yesteryear, the best lines, and gather them up for our kids. With malice toward none, with charity for all from Lincoln. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself from Roosevelt. Ask not what your
Treasurer Reed, your mic is bumped
You
mute.
got you muted by accident. Sorry.
It muted me in the middle. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Well, so I've gathered these great lines from past inaugural speeches. Is thinking about President Kennedy saying, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And there's nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America, from President Clinton. And now we've got our new president's words, President Biden's words, to add to that list. So let's celebrate tonight. We've earned it and we certainly need it. But as we do that, let's remember something else. And as we listen to those talented and eloquent leaders who are going to follow me, remember that when we wake up tomorrow, the sun will be rising on a state and a country that's depending on us to do the work that needs to be done. The only thing that's going to be different is new opportunities to do that work. President Biden, Vice President Harris, all of them need us. And there's a role for all of us to play in what's to come. So please stay engaged, stay with this effort. I'm so glad to see all of you tonight, and I'm so proud to be on a team with you. Thanks for all you've done and all you're going to do.
Thanks, Treasurer Tobias. It's great to hear from you again, and we're excited as we launch into this new year, certainly in this new administration. We are so excited that we flipped the Secretary of State seat back to where it belongs with the Democratic Party. But not just that, we're really excited that our Secretary of State is Shemia Fagan, who brings tremendous energy to the office. We know she's going to continue fighting for voting rights and do us proud as our Secretary of State. And she has already, as you know, jumped in to her role with both feet. So let's go right to her. Secretary Fagan, you are on the Zoom.
Hey, KC. Hey, fellow Democrats. Happy Inauguration Day. I don't know about you, but I sat in my living room this morning with my two children flanked on my sides, 8 and 4, and I cried. I mean, like hard, ugly crying where like you can't even control how awful your face looks and you're making weird, like deep gasping, breathing sounds as I cried so hard from joy and awe and just pure relief to see Kamala Harris and Joe Biden become our vice president and our president and take their oaths of office. And I think that all of us, it was so moving to watch that peaceful transfer of power happen in the exact location, the exact spot that was the site of a violent insurrection and attempted coup exactly 2 weeks earlier. To have that imagery, and it filled me with pride to be Oregon's Secretary of State, because while most people don't know exactly what the Secretary of State does, well, I mean, an early lesson in my campaign is I actually learned most people have no idea what the hell I do, but that's okay. but secretaries across the state, of state across the country have been called the guardians of democracy. And I love that. But when we say guardians, I know that sometimes we think of images of swords and shields and armor and violence and domination. But as a woman and as a mom, when I think of guarding what is most precious to me, I think of a day about a month ago, December 14th here in Oregon. It was our electoral college day. And I had planned to take my 8-year-old to the Capitol with me. It was kind of a fun thing, kind of did a little civics, as Treasurer Reed was saying, kind of civics with my kid for the day. And the very last minute, my childcare for my 4-year-old fell through due to a COVID exposure. So I'm taking both kids with me to the Capitol. We're all dressed up. We were on the Senate floor in the Oregon Capitol as we had the Electoral College, and it made a great photo op. But the rest of the day was a living hell, as like I'm sure most of you who know, taking an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old to a really boring event that's very ceremonial and serious. It was full of complaints and chair kicking and when are we done yet and how much longer and laying on the floor. And I was at my limit by the time we left, only to have one of their Kindles die of a battery on the way home, which ensued in a tantrum. And the other one, whose Kindle was still working, got car sick and threw up all over themselves in the car. I get home and I'm at the end of my rope as a person, as a mom. Of course, shortly after getting home, my dog throws up on the carpet. I get a phone call from a friend about some horrible kind of neighborhood news. And I go into my room and I almost lose my shit, as we could all expect in that moment. I breathe hard into a pillow and I take that deep breath just in time for my 4-year-old to fall off the bed and hit her lip, and we have a bloody mouth on our hands. But because I had taken that breath in that moment, I had within me the ability to wrap my arms around her and protect her and be there. So that is what I think of when I think of being a guardian of what is most precious to us. That guarding the things that are the most valuable don't involve violence and domination. They don't involve storming the Capitol as part of an armed insurrection. They don't involve breaking windows in the Oregon State Capitol because you don't want to testify in a Zoom meeting. They don't smash windows at the Democratic or Republican Party offices. Guardians take deep, deep breaths. And we can, as our beloved Michelle Obama implored us to, when they go low, we go high. And guardians take those deep breaths to support our democracy, even in those moments when we hate the results. The guardian we saw in Hillary 4 years ago, almost to the day, when she sat on that same stage and watched Donald Trump take the oath of office 4 years ago, and the Obamas too. And 4 years later, the guardian and strength that we saw in Mike Pence today. And I know it's hard to say, but look, that wasn't fun for him. Folks from both parties don't like him, but he took that deep breath and he guarded our democracy. Finally, I know, but he did. And he stood there on that stage today. And those deep guardian breaths that our senators Wyden and Merkley will take all next year as they dig deep to work with McConnell and anyone from his caucus who is willing to move forward and make progress for Oregonians and Americans. Deep guardian breaths that we know our governor takes as she works her ass off and works just as hard for every Oregonian who ridicules her as for those of us who adore her. And not because her haters will ever acknowledge her dedication, but because she is a guardian of democracy, and she also does a hell of a lot of yoga. So she's really good at those deep breaths. So I am so proud to celebrate with all of you today, and going forward, I am proud to be your Secretary of State. So together, that when others go low, we can go high and guard our democracy here in Oregon. Happy Inauguration Day, everybody.
And happy inauguration to you, Secretary Fagan. So glad you could be with us and join us, and so happy that you're moving us and moving Oregon into the future. And next, I'm so honored to introduce our governor. I could obviously say a million great things about Governor Brown, but what I want you to know most is that Governor Brown has put her heart, soul, and every waking hour into protecting Oregonians during this COVID pandemic. And guess what? Her policies have worked. The Oregon COVID-19 stats are the lowest among any state of more than 4 million folks and the lowest of any state with a major metro area. Governor Brown's heroic efforts have saved lives, period. I'm proud to introduce to you our governor, Kate Brown, who is muted.
I know, I got it. Sorry, you'd think 11 months into this, I would have figured it out by now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. And I'm just so honored and delighted to celebrate with you tonight. I think for me, many of you know that last week was probably one of the most brutal weeks that I have ever had as a public servant. This is my 30th year. And so I am so incredibly thankful tonight and so excited about the future ahead of us. I don't have any baby stories and I can't share with you my puppy stories, at least not in prime time. So, but when I can clean them up, I will let you know. But I do want to say thank you for your incredible, tireless efforts to ensure that Oregon helped deliver President Biden and Vice President Harris to the White House, and for electing our new Secretary of State, our guardian of democracy, re-electing our financier, Treasurer Tobias Reed, and our People's Attorney, Ellen Rosenblum, and ensuring that we have solid majorities in both the State House and the Senate. And of course, sending back to Washington, D.C., the incredible, the amazing Senator Jeff Merkley and our entire Democratic congressional delegation. Woo-hoo, we did it. I'm just really excited about the opportunities ahead and by our plans to build back a better Oregon, an Oregon that recognizes that the greatest crises facing our state and frankly, our entire nation impact our underserved communities the most. Oregon is certainly evolving out of necessity and also out of hope. Our policies and practices are changing as we listen more closely to those who've been most harmed. Together, all of us, I know we can do this, all of us can help ensure that the Oregon that emerges from the struggles of the past 12 months is just a more equitable and a more just Oregon. As Secretary Fagan mentioned, we also need to address the fabric of our democracy. And what is really true, that when our social structure is frayed, it's incredibly important that the fabric of our democracy remains strong. And I'm absolutely committed to working to strengthen not only the country's democracy, but Oregon's as well. And you all know Oregon's been an incredible leader in expanding voter access over the last couple of decades. Voting is truly a proud part of who we are. It's in our DNA. We have now registered over 92% of eligible Oregonians. And thanks to your hard work, Oregon voters kicked ass during the November general election. Kicked ass. That's due to your hard work. So we are truly setting an example for the nation. Our 30-year-old vote by mail system took a turn on the national stage as states across the nation shifted to vote by mail, voting early, voting from home, and of course, voting safely, which is so important in the midst of the pandemic. So the work now begins to make sure that that practice is permanent. I am so very proud of the For the People Act, sponsored by our very own Jeff Merkley. Let's give him a shout out. Woohoo! And Minnesota State Senator Amy Klobuchar. This is going to be the first bill taken up by the new Congress. So it's really exciting. And if passed, the bill would make sure that Oregon's model for voting by mail would be a national standard, and that automatic voter registration would be available to every state in the country. Both of these are vote by mail, and AVR should be available to every single American in every state, every day, every election cycle. So we've got a hell of a lot of work ahead of us to protect our democracy, to build back a better Oregon, and to make equity and justice a lived experience for every single Oregonian. So let's make it happen. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work. And thank you. Miss you all. Please stay safe. Hope is on the way.
Thank you, Governor Brown, and thank you for doing everything you do to protect every single Oregonian in this state. So next, I would like to introduce Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici. She's a longtime advocate for education from preschool through college. In fact, she's the founder and co-chair of the bipartisan Congressional STEAM Caucus, which encourages innovation and creative thinking by integrating arts and design with science, technology, and engineering and math education. If anybody can get folks to see the advantage of thinking both from the left and right brain, it's Congresswoman Bonamici. So without further delay, Congresswoman Suzanne, the Zoom is all yours.
Thank you so much, Casey. Hello, everyone. Greetings from our nation's capital. It's so great to be with you on this day. Thanks to Casey and the DPO staff and all the supporters. I want to start by saying, as Casey mentioned at the beginning, I condemn the violence that just happened in Portland at the DPO and everywhere. And it makes me truly miss my colleague, the late, great John Lewis. Because when he talked about good trouble, he was talking about his commitment to nonviolence, to speaking up and to speaking out when you see injustice, but to doing it in a nonviolent way. But today, what a joyous day. What an amazing day at the inauguration. It looked different. You know, there was a somber mood because of COVID. We didn't have the usual crowds that are there for an inauguration. And just to clarify for the record, there were a lot more people at the Women's March than there were 4 years ago at Trump's inauguration. But today, it was, despite the lack of people and the mourning of the lives lost to COVID, what a wonderful day, an inspiring day. It started out this morning, the sky was a little gray. There were a few snowflakes along the way. But then when Joe Biden came out and Kamala Harris came out and got sworn in as our president and vice president, the sun came out and there was a collective sigh of relief across the Capitol, I know across Oregon and across the country. And as our wonderful Secretary of State, Shemia Fagan, guardian of democracy, was saying, this was happening in a place where just 2 weeks ago, there was an attack on our Capitol, an attack that attempted to undermine democracy and stop the process of certifying the Electoral College votes. I felt stoic in the wee hours of the morning the next day after that attack when I went to the floor to vote against those who were trying to block the certification. And like today, the fact that we could have that wonderful inauguration there today, when just 2 weeks ago there were insurrectionists, white supremacists trying to undermine democracy. It shows just how resilient we can be as a country. And it shows that we cannot let those who tried to undermine democracy win. And they didn't win. So we have this exciting, historic day today. Thank you to all the activists and organizers and Democrats who made this possible. I have to say, as the only woman in the Oregon congressional delegation right now, that could change when we're getting a 6th seat. It was wonderful and so inspiring to see Kamala Harris be sworn in by Justice Sotomayor as our vice president. I had a lot of tears of joy under my mask. Wonderful to cheer for her. And as Casey mentioned, as the founder of the Congressional STEAM Caucus and a longtime supporter of the arts and humanities as a way to bring us together to inspire creativity and innovation. Amanda Gorman and her beautiful, beautiful poem, The Hill We Climb. You could have heard a pin drop even outside listening to her. She captured not only the audience there, but I know around the country. I've already listened to it again, and I encourage you to as well. What a beautiful work of art. We do have a lot of work to do. We do. But let's take some time and celebrate and be joyful. Many times it felt like this day would never come. It's been a very, very long 4 years. Then it got better when we had not only the inauguration today, but then we saw Vice President Harris swear into office 3 more Democrats to the Senate. So that is, it's been a wonderful day, a lot to celebrate. I know Senator Merkley is going to talk about For the People Act in the House. It's HR 1, which shows what a priority is as it is in the House as well. I thank Jeff for his leadership in the Senate, and I look forward to getting to work on that, on HR 1 and good government and campaign finance and election reform to make the rest of the country have safe and secure elections like Oregon, but also addressing the climate crisis, which I'm excited to say has been a priority of President Biden, already getting us back into the Paris Climate Accord, working on affordable education and equitable education for all students, and of course, crushing the coronavirus, which we know we can do with the leadership we have. You all helped make this possible. Your hours of phone calls, every dollar you donated, every postcard and letter you wrote. It's time to rebuild, not just rebuild, but rebuild better. And as President Biden and Vice President Harris say, let's build back better. So cheers to a new administration, to that collective sigh of relief. We're all going to sleep better tonight, into a better world and a better future for Oregonians and Americans. Thank you, everybody. Let's celebrate together and get on with the work. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, and cheers to you, Congresswoman Bonamici. Next, I want to tell you about Senator Jeff Merkley, who dove into party politics in the 1990s as a mid-county House district leader for Multnomah County. PCP district leader, he brought energy to the party, and he soon brought that same energy to his role in the House, and soon brought that same energy to his role as Oregon Speaker of the House. And as you know, then he brought that same energy to the U.S. Senate when he was elected in 2008 as our second Democratic U.S. Senator. We are so proud, we are so happy and so thrilled that he represents Oregonians and America in the U.S. Senate. Jeff represents what is best of Oregon, and he brings the best to our entire nation. Senator Merkley, the floor and the Zoom is yours.
Hey, Casey, thanks so much. And, I'm really missing the whole vibe of us being in a big room, just cheering on. Can we unmute everyone for at least like 30 seconds so we can just celebrate that our long national nightmare, our 4-year nightmare with Donald Trump is over. Jumping from the ceiling and each other and COVID.
Finally.
Yeah.
Well done. Chance to be.
They asked us to unmute.
Of each other together. We
Oh. Senator Merkley, you're now muted again because we muted everyone, including
Yeah, you muted Jeff.
Well, we had to.
Today, when the day started, it was President Trump still in office, and we were worried about all the bad things he was going to do before. Are you hearing me now? You're hearing me now. Okay.
1 second. I think we're just going to remute everyone really quick if that's possible, and then we'll have you. Sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Great.
Oh, great. Well, I had to throw a little wrinkle into everything by suggesting we unmute it all, but we just it's going to be so great to be together in the same room when we can hug each other once again and just cheer each other on. I miss that huge connection that comes from our rallies and our mutual support from each other. But we're going to get there. And when the sun rose this morning, Donald Trump was still president, and we had to worry about all the regulations he was going to do before noon. And now he's gone, and we had Joe Biden do 17 executive orders on a huge host of topics. So go Joe Biden. We're into a whole new era, an era of competence, an era that cares about the climate, the era that cares about the foundations for thriving families with healthcare and housing and education and living wage jobs, an era that cares about equal justice under law, that respects the balances in the Constitution, the checks and balances in our Constitution. So what a glorious day that is. And when we started this morning, when we got out of bed, there were 47 Democratic senators, and Mitch McConnell was still majority. And tonight, there are 50 Democratic senators. And thank you to our vice president. Mitch McConnell is no longer the majority leader. And we have a chance on the hearings and the floor action to do great work for America in all these critical areas. You know, during the campaign, I would sometimes show up before COVID, and I had a hat to auction off that had my slogan for the year, which was "Dump Trump, Ditch Mitch, Save America." Friends, fellow Democrats, you have done it. You have done it. Hallelujah. Really tremendous, tremendous work. And I must say that today there were moments that I will not soon forget. J-Lo singing with Woody Guthrie's song, "This Land Is Our Land." And I thought, yeah, this land is our land, and we've taken it back from the evil power that controlled it and cast a shadow over it, a dark cloud over it for the last 4 years. We had Lady Gaga singing. You know, how can you forget either the way she sang or this fabulous, incredible red hoop skirt that took out about 10 feet wide, and it had all the security guards trying to figure out how to get her up there to the mic. We needed these moments of celebration after so much darkness. We needed these moments of light, and now we need moments of action. We have to deliver on all the things we've been talking about healthcare, about housing, about education, about living wage jobs, about the Equality Act. So no longer will there be discrimination across America for LGBTQ community. We have to deliver on the climate. We finally have a president for the first time in US history fully dedicated to robust action to put America on track and work in partnership with the world. How great is that? And we don't have a moment to spare. I'll close back with For the People. The big victory of the last couple of days was Chuck Schumer, the new majority leader, agreeing that the For the People Act, which I will lead in the Senate, that takes on gerrymandering, that takes on voter suppression and takes on dark money, will be S1. His name is going to be right on it, after my name, after Klobuchar's name, who's head of rules, Chuck Schumer, putting his weight behind it. If there is such a thing as accountability for all that has happened this last year, it has to include passing the For the People Act. Now, we know Mitch McConnell's doing everything he can to obstruct it, but we cannot let the excuse that Mitch McConnell was allowed to prevent the fundamental right to vote, the fundamental access to the ballot box for all Americans when he's in the minority in the Senate. No excuses. We have to find a way to pass it. And let me tell you this, denying access to the ballot box, that's one of the biggest, deepest, darkest, most horrific forms of systemic racism we have in America. From the very moment that we had the 13th Amendment that was to end slavery, immediately we had the black codes that allowed you to be arrested for being black in the South and take away your ability to vote. And then we had all kinds of other voter suppression strategies across this land aimed primarily at Black Americans, aimed at low-income Americans, aimed at Native Americans, aimed at college students now. And so let's take on the systemic racism. Let's take on this effort to manipulate the elections till you're governed by the powerful and restore the vision of government of, by, and for the people. Let's get it done. Let's make it happen. 8 months from now, let's come together and celebrate a tremendous string of victories in our democratic restored republic.
All right. Thank you, Senator Jeff. Well spoken, and absolutely, we're on board with you to help get this stuff done. So our other senator, of course, is our Senator Ron Wyden, and many of you know him as America's Mr. Vote by Mail. He advocates for what we all know is Oregon needs to be that great system of voting, and he was, in fact, the very first elected official elected exclusively in a vote by mail election back when he gained a Senate seat in 1996. With Senator Merkley, Senator Ron Wyden is now again a member of the U.S. Senate majority. And I'm happy to let you know, and Senator Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you will be chairing the very critical Senate Finance Committee. Senator, Chairman, the Zoom is yours.
KC, thank you. And of course, everybody knows KC is the bionic woman for Democrats. And I do want to take note of the fact that on such a joyous day in Washington, D.C., it's just horrendous to see headquarters damaged. So KC, we're going to be working with you. We support Democrats on everything, and that's particularly things like rebuilding and the like. So we'll be with you. I want to tell you my favorite picture of today. Right after Garth Brooks sang, and you heard that amazing voice, he started heading out, and he saw Barack Obama hold out his hand to shake hands with Garth Brooks, and Garth Brooks just threw his arms around him. I mean, it was just a complete love fest. And then he said, well, I got to get going. And George W. Bush actually looked up, and he got up, and he figured if Barack Obama got to share the joy of the day, then George W. Bush was making it pretty clear that he was happy about what happened as well. So it was an image that will stick with me. And I think my colleagues have said so many things well. To me, the takeaway today was the tale of 2 Wednesdays. 2 Wednesdays ago, we had a day that will live in infamy, and we understand why it happened. You know, Donald Trump cranked this up for weeks and weeks. He assembled everybody. Then we have that iconic picture of Josh Hawley urging people to come forward. It's a day that, in my view, will live in infamy. And like a lot of horrendous, events, it'll go one of 2 ways. It'll kind of ebb away. This is going to go the other way. People are going to learn more and more and come to understand, as people have said on this discussion, that we're just not, as Democrats, going to accept violence, and we're not going to accept it from any quarter. So that's number one. Number two, the Senate Finance Committee, my 8-year-old keeps hearing from her friends and the parents of the friends that I'm the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, and this is so powerful. So what all these 8-year-olds want to do is come and sit in my chair, because this is somehow supposed to be something very cool. But what it's really, all about is it's a chance to work and battle for the kinds of values that I see every time I'm home with Democrats. I was home last week at virtual town hall meetings, everywhere. D's always show up. And it's always about making sure somebody is making the case for key values. So when people talk about healthcare, and there are a lot of issues to do, we start with the basic proposition that healthcare is a basic human right. And then I say, the tax code is a broken down mess. And I made the point that if you're a nurse taking care of COVID patients in Coos Bay or Gresham or anywhere in Oregon, you pay taxes with every single paycheck. There are no special breaks. They come out of every check. But if you're a billionaire, you can, to a great extent, defer and defer and defer. And we actually found out, Casey, we ran the numbers that a few hundred billionaires basically made enough dough in the year of the pandemic in order to send stimulus checks to everybody in America. So we got a lot of work to do. It's going to be about healthcare. It's going to be about taxes. It's going to be about climate change. And on climate change, what we'll do is we'll start with the proposition that there are 44 separate tax breaks for energy. Really, energy policy is tax policy. And I'm going to throw all 44 of them in the garbage can. And then we're going to substitute for the 44, one for clean energy, one for clean transportation fuel, and one for energy efficiency. And I'm going to tell the Republicans, how about more green for less green? We can really have green energy with fewer subsidies. So that's what we'll be doing on the Finance Committee. And now I believe we actually have the political support in DC to do it. Now remember, we still need all of you more than ever, because political change, one piece is Washington, DC. We got the votes now, but political change still is fundamentally about grassroots up rather than bottom down. So we're thanking you for all you did to make this possible, but we're telling you, do not let up at this point. Be there on the community meetings, be there with the text, be there with the grassroots, because that's what's going to make it possible for me and the Finance Committee and all 50 of the Ds to have the maximum amount of influence. I'll leave you with one last thought. I had a town hall in Washington County, went to Forest Grove. We did it for the surrounding areas. And I got to bed on Monday morning, very late, but I got up about 3 a.m. to make the early plane to DC. Now you get up at 3 a.m. and normally at 3 a.m. you do not have an ear-to-ear grin on your face. But I did this past Monday morning at 3 a.m. because I knew that I was headed to Washington, D.C. And in this tale of two cities, tale of 2 Wednesdays, what happened 2 Wednesdays ago was not going to be, what happened two Wednesdays ago was going to be very different than what we did today. And I knew today was going to be special, but I had no idea that there would be this kind of passion, this kind of sentiment for, my God, we've gone through the ultimate stress test for democracy over the last 4 years. And we are so resilient that here we are 2 weeks from the maximum amount of stress put on our system. We're now going to be in a position to really advance the goals and aspirations of all the grassroots Democrats. So thanks for all you've done. And I know I'm really asking for you to keep stepping up, but we have to go the next step. And that is, if we're going to get we the people, if we're going to get tax reform, if we're going to get climate change, if we're going to make healthcare a basic right, it still isn't just going to happen with 50 votes. We're going to have incredible grassroots support. So big thanks for all you did to get us to this point tonight. And just know from my vantage point, when Democrats are doing all this wonderful work, it still has got to be in the to be continued department. And I'll be with you every step of the way.
Thank you, Senator Wyden, and we will be with you on that to be continued ongoing series. Thanks so much. Congressman Peter DeFazio, who just faced the toughest challenge since he has been running for Congress, but beat his opponent back fiercely, and we all helped him. And thanks again to everybody for that. And you all know Congressman Peter DeFazio as one of our progressive champions. And as one of the founders of the House Progressive Caucus, he's a national progressive champion as well. And in his role as chair of the critical House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, his work will be key as Democrats truly begin to build our nation back better. Hey, And maybe we'll actually have infrastructure week that we've been waiting on for 4 years. Congressman, let us know. The mic is yours.
Yep. All right. I hit the
And you're muted again.
Oh.
unmute. All right.
There you go.
Okay, good. Well, first I want to thank everybody on this call. As you noted, I did have an extraordinary challenge. We think they spent close to 9 million total with the dark money and everything against me. By far the most expensive House race in the history of the state of Oregon. They failed, and I'm back to work with Joe Biden. And we are going to have a real infrastructure week, not another. Trump had 7 fake infrastructure weeks. We're going to have a real one. And we're not just going to rebuild our infrastructure. At the same time, we're going to put millions of people to work. We're going to engage in worker training to help people in communities of color and depressed areas and rural areas in this country get jobs, rebuilding our infrastructure. We're going to rebuild it resilient to severe weather events. We're going to rebuild it with new materials that are more climate friendly, and we are going to defossilize transportation, which is the largest single contributor to carbon emissions in the United States of America. I have been waiting for this for so long, and I just got to raise a glass to President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and to better times ahead. So let me just reflect a little bit. As I listened to President Biden, I couldn't help but reflect back on the dystopian speech that Trump gave 4 years ago. Dark, divisive. We didn't know how bad he was going to be, but that inaugural speech was just like a foreshadowing of all of the incredible disruptions and problems to come. We did survive essentially in an attempted coup. Trump built this up for months. They knew he was going to probably lose. His polls were so bad. So he talked about stop the steal. The only way it loses if it's rigged. That they persisted in that. Then they tried to do more voter repression. They failed. Then they tried to throw out votes. They failed in the courts. Then they tried to corrupt some of the legislatures and flip the electoral college. They failed. But you know what? Their last step, and this is why we should convict this guy, or the Senate should convict him. We've already acted in the House. On September 26th in Pittsburgh, he said, folks, if the electoral college doesn't meet or doesn't come to a conclusion, guess what? I win. Every state gets 1 vote and we win. The Republicans, we win. So I think this was incredibly intentional on his part. You listen to his language, Giuliani's language, and others at that rally, to encourage people to violence, to invade the Capitol. We survived an attempted coup. That's extraordinary. And there have to be severe consequences, not just for him, but for his hench people and for all those who participated that can be identified. We're not out of the woods yet. This will go on. But I thought that President Biden gave an incredibly good speech in terms of talking about bringing the country back together. There's people who just off the deep end we're not going to get back. But there are a heck of a lot of people who voted for Trump. They voted for him out of desperation, economic desperation. Their small business went broke. They lost their job. Their jobs were shipped overseas, and he gave them false promises. He was going to fix trade policy. Yeah, trade deficits are bigger now than when he took office. And he was going to give them tax relief. Yeah, he gave tax relief to everybody who earned over $400,000 a year, big time, and crumbs to the rest of America. But somehow he still was able to drag some of these people along. We've got to get those people back to rebalance this country. And I believe with President Biden's COVID relief package, followed by a major recovery package, a key part of which will be my transportation 21st century transportation infrastructure bill, gives us an opportunity to really heal the majority of this country and to really send those evil people, the white supremacists, the others, back to the little dark corners where they all came from. He brought them out. He enabled them. Proud boys, stand by, stand down, stand by. I mean, can you imagine a president of the United States saying something like that? Unbelievable. So we've got a lot of work ahead. You know, Ron mentioned it and Jeff mentioned it. We can't sleep. We've got to all pull together to get this done. So again, thank you for all of your incredible work to help win back the country. I want to give a special toast to my campaign team, led by Carly Gabrielson, who went to Savannah Christmas Day and stayed there and campaigned for those Senate seats until it was done. That was unbelievable, and that's a turning point. So thanks to them, thanks to all of you, and here's a good Oregon beer and a toast to a better future. Thank you.
Cheers. Absolutely. Thank you for everything. And boy, do we look forward to Infrastructure Week and Infrastructure Year and Infrastructure Term. So thank you again, everyone here who has volunteered and done so much to help elect great Democrats and all these Democrats that you heard from tonight, up and down the ballot. Thank you. A special thanks to Senator White and Senator Merkley, Congressman DeFazio, Congresswoman Bonamici, Governor Brown, Secretary Fagan, and Treasurer Reed, and all of our Democratic leaders who joined us to celebrate tonight. We Oregon Democrats, we will never take our majorities for granted. And make no mistake, we are blue because, as Executive Director Brad Martin loves to say, we are forged blue. We are forged because of the tremendous teamwork and work you all have done. You've supported us every step of the way. I know you'll continue to support us. And hey, Oregon's gonna stay blue. And you know what? With Oregon blue, you make the entire country a better place. It was great to see all of you tonight. Here is to our new president, Joe Biden, and our new vice president, Kamala Harris, and our majorities in Washington, D.C. and Salem. As is the Democratic way, I will leave you with a directional announcement. Yes. Oh, that wasn't the one I meant, but whatever. You can view the inauguration ceremonies, the concert tonight, which I'm sure you want to go to, and which has now been taken off my screen. There we go. There it is. To Celebrate America, hosted by Tom Hanks. It's live. You can stream it live, or you can catch a slightly delayed replay at 8 p.m. tonight on CBS, or maybe run over to MSNBC now. I don't know. But obviously a lot is out there. So thank you, Democrats. You guys are awesome. Together, our awesomeness will keep Oregon blue. Good night, and I'll see you down the road.
Thank you, everyone, and good night. Take care, and let's go save America.
Night, thank you.